I was happening, Ashburn, Rico from RicoScores. I knew I would be busy the past week, but these past couple of days I ended up even busier than I expected. But either way, I know I'm a little late to announce this, but the Washington Commanders training camp dates are officially released. We know exactly when everything's going down. We do not have to wait until July 29th like all of the other sources were saying earlier, and I'm very excited about that. We're going to break down all of the training camp dates, the themes for some of the days, and also how many will be open to the public. Is way less than I expected, but there's a reasoning behind that, and so I can't wait to dive into all of that. Also, the Washington Commanders have officially reached a $1.3 million settlement. We're going to talk about what that's about and why the new regime has to pay for it. And then we also have to talk about some potential data centers in Ashburn. We're going to talk about what that potentially means for the practice facility, all of that type of stuff. But before we get into all of that, make sure you stiff arm that like button, stiff arm the subscription button, stiff arm the bell next to that subscription button so you get notification each and every time I release an informative and opinionated video just like this one. Make sure you stay tuned for all of the content, man. I really appreciate y'all for being patient with me and just waiting around for the content to come back out. I promise videos every day, but the past couple of days were crazy, but now I'm right back to it, and I really want to get to these rookie film sessions. I would love to get those done before training camp starts, and again, we're about to talk about training camp right now, so you'll know when that is. And let's go ahead and dive into this video instead of wasting more of y'all time. Let's get it. Adam. And just in case if you're wondering, this video clip that you're about to see while I'm talking is directly from the Washington Commanders last year from training camp. Terry McLaurin walking up to the fans, hype and excited about signing things and all of that type of stuff. So just make sure that if you can, you pull up to the 2024 training camp as well. But the NFL announced the reporting dates for next month training camps, and as far as the Washington Commanders go, the rookies report July 18th, the veterans report July 23rd. And that's not like a typical gap. It's not like every team out there in the NFL has a 5-day gap in between when the rookies report and the veterans report. And of course, training camp will be held in Ashburn, of course, at the training facilities that we have there. But again, we're going to get later on to the video, and we're going to talk about these data centers. And maybe that's not as long term as you think. Maybe that's more temporary than you think as far as practicing in Ashburn. But if you want to see how the rest of the NFL is doing it, you can see on the screen right now. Again, our rookies report the 18th and then the veterans the 23rd. But you have a team like the Titans where the rookies and the veterans come in the same day. You have the Tampa Bay Buccaneers where the rookies come in 1 day sooner. You have the San Francisco 49ers where the rookies come in a whole week sooner. And everybody has different dates. I mean, you have the Chicago Bears who veterans come in as early as the 19th, or the Houston Texans. I don't know exactly how it balances. I mean, you have the Colts whose rookies and veterans don't report until the 24th. Either way, moving on, we also have 5 open practices for the fans during camp. July 28th, the 29th, August 2nd, the 4th, and the 6th. Those are your 5 days right there. But also, season ticket holders in select membership types will also be able to attend July 30th and August 1st, depending on what type of season ticket holder you are. So in total, only like 7 maximum open practices out of this entire training camp coming up. That is a much smaller amount than I expected, that I especially hoped for. But at the end of the day, if it's for like a strategic advantage to where other teams don't know what we're going to do and it's going to potentially lead us to winning more games, then perfectly fine with me. If they didn't allow any practices to be open for that reason, then I'd probably still be okay with it. Even though, I mean, you could at least give us the 5 to 7 that they're giving, because you could just choose those days out of the entire training camp experience leading up to the regular season. You just don't install any new things. You don't show any real offense. You go through vanilla things, kind of like preseason, where everybody's watching, where you don't want to show anybody any of your cards, any of your real strategies, your playbooks, your alignments, your personnel groupings and things like that. You're just going out there as plain and vanilla as possible. So for those 5 to 7 practices, you can do that, and then you can really dive into like what you're trying to do on offense, what you're trying to do on special teams, what you're trying to do on defense and things like that on the days that we do not have access to the practice. And you can kind of see this coming too, because even throughout OTAs and mandatory mini camps, now we had access to all 3 days of mandatory mini camps, but voluntary OTAs, which, I mean, we had 100% participation, which was really cool. But out of like the double digit practices that they have for voluntary OTAs, only like 3, maybe 4 of them were open to the public. When I say open to the public, I'm not even just talking fans. I'm talking about reporters, beat writers, guys like John Keim and Logan Paulson and Nikki Javala, JP Finley, and those people. Like, they're not even allowed to be there. I think Zach Selby's like one of the only guys that's allowed to be there because he works directly for the Washington Commanders themselves, and that's why his articles get posted on literally commanders.com. And I'm not even entirely sure if he's allowed to be there. So when they say open to the public, they mean anybody that's not working for the team directly as like a coach, front office member, or a player, or I guess a staffer. That's it. No reporters, no fans, no nothing. So again, open practice, you have July 28th. That's the back together weekend. And then July 29th, you have Salute Day. So that's the military one. Then July 30th is the Season Ticket Member Business Network. So if you are a part of the Season Ticket Member Business Network, you should be able to claim your tickets immediately for that. Then August 1st is the Season Ticket Member Ultra. So if you're a part of the Season Ticket Member Ultra membership type, then you should have access to those tickets by now as well. Then you have August 2nd, general admission. August 4th, also, of course, general admission open to everybody, but that's the Kids Day theme. And then August 6th is also another general admission practice. Again, for everybody, just the regular Joe Schmoes like I am, we have 5 practices that we can go to, but if you're a certain type of season ticket holder, you can get up to 7 practices that you can go to. Now, going directly from the Commanders website themselves, for the 3rd consecutive year, the Washington Commanders will host training camp at the team's football operations headquarters in Ashburn, Virginia. But again, later on in this video, we're going to talk about why that may not be a long-term thing. The team will hold 5 open practices for all fans, July 28th, July 29th, August 2nd, August 4th, and August 6th, along with 2 open practices exclusively for season ticket members and select membership types on July 30th and August 1st, which is like kind of in the middle. You have the 2 open practices to everybody, then you have the 2 exclusive practices depending on what type of season ticket holder you are in the middle, and then you finish it out with 3 more general admission ones. All practices begin at 9 a.m. Eastern time, remember that, but they're also subject to change depending on what's going on. The 2024 training camp will be presented by Bank of America, Clark Construction, and Pepsi. Fans can claim their free tickets for training camp open practices beginning Thursday, June 20th at 11 a.m. So as of like, by the time y'all get this 3-4 hours ago, make sure y'all go get those tickets right now. Commanders.com/training camp. Literally right there. To accommodate as many fans as possible, fans will only be allowed to claim a maximum of 6 tickets to 1 day of training camp, in addition to 1 parking pass. All parking will be on site at the Ortho Virginia Training Center at Commanders Park, and all fans must have a parking pass to gain access to the lot. For all practices at Ashburn, gates will open at 8 a.m. Parking lots will open at 7:30 a.m. Additional information on parking will be shared via email on the Know Before You Go communications for all ticketed guests. Like last year, fans are welcome to watch practice from the bleacher area on the practice fields or set up blankets and lawn chairs adjacent to the practice fields. The team will host a variety of activations throughout training camp, including, again, the first one is Back Together Weekend. The team will kick off training camp by taking part in the NFL Annual's Back Together Weekend celebration on Sunday, July 28th. There will be a series of activations suitable for families, including the Commanders Kids Zone, Washington Legends Meet and Greet, appearance by Major Tuddy himself, if y'all are interested in that, giveaways, and much more. Military Appreciation Day is the next theme day. Washington Salute, the official military appreciation club of the Washington Commanders, will host a few hundred local military members, veterans, and their families for a practice experience with players and coaches and special recognition for service to our nation on Monday, July 29th. This year's Military Appreciation Day is presented by USAA, official salute to service partner of the Washington Commanders. Then Kids Day, again, is Sunday, August 4th. The Washington Commanders Foundation Generation Kids Zone presented by Pepsi will host youth football teams from across DC, Maryland, and Virginia as part of Kids Day. Additionally, throughout camp, the Community Corner presented by Rita's Water Ice will host local nonprofits for an exclusive experience, recognizing them from work they do in our community. Also, just the last update, while at training camp, fans can purchase a variety of Commanders merchandise, of course, including NFL licensed apparel, official NFL training camp gear, mini footballs, helmets, and other fan favorite retail items, just to give y'all the full breakdown and everything that matters. Now, of course, again, I want to revisit the part of this where it's like, wow, only 5 practices open to everybody and maximum of 7, even if you are like a committed season ticket holder. And it does seem like this is less than normal, but and after some people pointed it out, when you look around at what other NFL teams are doing, it seems like a lot of NFL teams are limiting their public access this year. It's just a 2024 offseason thing. It's not even necessarily just like the Commanders are going from the previous regime to the new regime, going from the Rivera era to this Adam Peters greatness and all of this type of stuff. It's not just that. It just seems like it's kind of like a common thing around the NFL right now, where a lot of teams are just basically like, let's limit these practices being open to the fans. Let's really hunker down and try to, get some strategic stuff going. And we don't want other people seeing that. We don't want spies from other teams posing as a fan with a Commanders jersey on, getting our playbook and seeing the type of things that we want to run and having that leg up on us going into the season. Because I'm not going to lie, man, if I were the Commanders, I would for sure send undercover spies to other teams' open practices. I would for sure, even though teams may not even give us any real information from the practices that they do have open, I would still, if I'm Adam Peters, send just random guys. I would even pay fans. I would just pay a fan to, hey man, go over there to that Dallas Cowboys practice. If you're out there in Texas, go to that practice and try to record as much as you can, try to tell us as much as you can, and we're gonna try to use what we can from that type of thing. So hey man, that's just, I would not be playing about that. I would be trying to find any advantage I can in any way possible. But of course, I'm not surprised that they want to try to limit fan access and even just reporter access, because reporters, even though they technically kind of do work for the Commanders, they could just slip up. They could just accidentally tweet the wrong thing, say the wrong thing, upload the wrong clip, and show something that maybe the reporter thought it was innocent, but it was actually something very important to the Commanders team, like offense, defense, whatever, a play that they're working on, an interesting trick play. You just never know. So it's just better to just not allow people in there, because human error exists. Even if they don't necessarily mean to, they could mess up a few things and sabotage everything we got going on just off of that. So I'm not really mad at it, is my point. And then also John Kahn pointed out the fact that having the joint practices on the road, as well as the first 2 preseason games being on the road, limits the number of open sessions that you can have. And that's a good point. We do have more regular season games at home this year, but that also means we have less preseason games at home. If you have more regular season games at home, if out of your 17 games, 9 of them are at home in the regular season, then that means out of your 3 preseason games, only 1 of them is going to be at home. It pretty much kind of evens out, even though I prefer to have more home games in the regular season than the preseason. So I'm not complaining at all. But when you have more home games in the regular season, that means only 1 of your 3 preseason games will be at home. The first 2 are away. The last one is at home against the Patriots. And again, like he pointed out, and like I've already discussed in other videos, those first 2 preseason games against the Jets and the Dolphins, we also have joint practices with them as well. So even if we were, if we didn't have those away practices, those joint practices where we literally had to go to New Jersey and Miami to do them, maybe those would be more open practices for the fans. But they're literally not even going to be in Ashburn for those practices. That is New Jersey and Miami, because we have to go to them since we play them in New Jersey and Miami for those preseason games. So of course it would only naturally make sense for them to host the joint practices. So those are just even more practices that Commanders fans can't go to, because it's not in Ashburn. We don't control that. That's completely up to the Jets and the Dolphins on if they want those practices open or not. I hope they are. I hope they live stream them like the Ravens did. That was a great experience last year, but who knows? Now moving on from the training camp stuff to now real serious Washington Commander business. Apparently, Virginia reached a $1.3 million settlement between the Commanders and the season ticket holders. This is tweeted from Jason Meyerez. of Virginia, he said, pleased to announce the end of our Washington Commanders investigation and $1.3 million settlement. Prior ownership unlawfully kept security deposits for years after they should have been returned to season ticket holders. Now that money is being repaid. Dan Snider is just a different type of level of just terrible person, bro. That's crazy. And he basically said that it's a pretty blatant act that went on. He emphasized, though, he did want to emphasize that the new ownership group was cooperative and inherited this issue, but now it's over. But he did want to point out the fact that this has nothing to do with Adam Peters, nothing to do with anybody who's currently in the building right now. That was Dan Snider and his crew. All of this stupidity was going on. All of this sleaziness is going on. Just pure slime snake stuff behind the scenes on the business end. And basically, he did want to point out the fact that even though the new regime is kind of paying for it a little bit, it's not their fault, and they've done everything in their power to help us on their end as well. And just to dive into the article real quick, the Washington Commanders reached a $1.3 million settlement with the Virginia Attorney General as a result of a 2-year investigation into how the franchise handled the return of season ticket deposits. Dan Snyder's a weird guy, man. When you really just sit back and think about it, that is crazy. Attorney General Jason Miyares said in a statement that the argument calls for the organization to pay more than $600,000 in deposits plus another $700,000 in penalties and costs to the investigation. So they basically charged us for even having to do the investigation. Not mad at it. Miyares' office started looking into Washington on April 25th, 2022 after information was relayed during a congressional investigation about possible financial improprieties levied by a former employee that included how the team handled returning the season ticket deposits. The events occurred when Dan Snyder owned the franchise. He sold the team last July to a group led by Josh Harris. That's crazy. It feels like it's been forever, but Josh Harris has not even owned this team for an entire year yet. A team source said that they handed over business, financial, and accounting documents to the Attorney General and updated that office with findings of their own internal investigation. Miyares said they worked with Harris's group, pointing out where the previous ownership had fallen short in refunding the deposits. Miyares said the new ownership group was very helpful. Quote, this was a problem the current ownership did not create. They inherited it. But I appreciate the fact that they were willing to talk and get it resolved rather than going through what would have probably been several years of litigation. It was clear from our perspective that so many of the season ticket holders were just treated as a commodity. Nothing surprises us anymore, but this was a pretty blatant act for sure, unquote. And that's from Miyares himself. And basically, I mean, it sucks that the current Commanders have to pretty much pay for it, but somebody has to. And I just appreciate the fact that the Commanders was just like, instead of trying to wait this out and trying to avoid paying for it and possibly extending this like several years down the road worth of going back and forth with all of the type of stuff, the Commanders are just like, here, man, y'all can have it. We just want to get this out the way so we can just purely focus on positive and great things. We're trying to get rid of any Dan Snyder funk that's still in the building, just circling around and messing up the air and things like that. So they're just like, I know this isn't our fault, but we just want to get this over with so we can stop worrying about it and even talking about it. We're tired of being investigated. Can we just not be investigated? And we did nothing wrong here. So hey, shouts out to the Commanders, Jason Wright, all of those guys for just going, Josh Harris, everybody, minority owners, for just getting that out the way. Let's just go ahead and move on. Now, next up, the next topic that we're going to talk about, the thing that was relevant to the training camp situation, is that the Commanders have filed plans to turn the Ashburn practice facility into data centers, maybe one day. And this came from @InsideNOVA directly themselves. JP Finley quote tweeted it and said, eventually Commanders could build a new practice facility, but with the amount of new construction going on over there right now, nothing is imminent. And he's basically pointing out the fact that the Commanders are spending all of that money on trying to get rid of that turf field that's closest to the locker rooms and things like that, that players and coaches have always, and front office members, whoever is going there, when they're going from the lockers to the actual fields that we practice on, they've had to pass through those. I've broken this down in a couple of training camp videos. I mean, my fault, a couple of mandatory and voluntary OTAs videos since they've been working on it. They've been tearing up the old turf of that practice facility that's closest to everything, and then they're trying to install like new grass, and it's been a problem for like the past 20 years. That field's been there for like 30 plus years. That field has been there even longer than I've been born, And JP Finley and everybody's been basically talking about like it needed to be gone since like 20 years ago. And literally the only thing stopping it was Dan Snider being cheap and not wanting to pay for it. Well, Josh Harris and company came in and immediately went to go ahead and pay for it. They've been working on deconstructing it now, then they'll eventually build it back up so it can actually be usable and players can actually go on it in practice. And I just doubt that they're putting that at least $1.5 million worth of effort into that. I doubt they're going to pay that just to potentially move the facilities to somewhere else anytime soon. It's basically the point. But John Com also tweeted, Commanders filed data center plans for practice facility property. Doing so protects value of the land. A DC would buy a premium. Huge value. No imminent plans to leave or put land up for sale. So now when we actually dive into the article as to what this exactly means and what's going on, reading directly from theburn.com, they said the description listed on the engineering plan reads as follows: site plan for development of 3 data center buildings. The Burn reached out to a spokesperson of the Washington Commanders who shared this statement with us. Quote, the Washington Commanders are committed to the Commonwealth Loudoun County as where many of our coaches, players, and employees not only work, but also call home. Our intention is filing for this approval is to secure the option and flexibility for a possible future development on our 162-acre site, and it is not a plan to take any action in the near future. Any development we do will be leveraged to reinvest in our football program and fan experience, unquote. So that, that's nice assurance that they, whatever, they're focused on making sure the fans and the players and everybody are happy, but they're also thinking into the future. I'm not mad at it. The Burn also spoke with Buddy Reiser. He's the executive director of Loudoun County Economic Development. He said, quote, this isn't a surprise. We were aware that this was coming. The Commanders have been very transparent with us, unquote. So that's another positive thing. The Commanders are making sure everybody's on the same page. Where are we at? This is what we plan on doing. We may not do it anytime soon, but just a heads up, this is what we're thinking about. Reiser went on to say the move was more about the Commanders preserving the value of their land for all potential future uses, and that there are no actual plans to build a data center on the property at this time. Instead, by filing now and getting the needed approvals in place, the Commanders would be grandfathering in their property under the current rules should there be any future changes to regulations or laws that could adversely impact the value of the land. Quote, we know that data center land sells for a premium. Not having those rights secured impacts land values. They are just making a smart business decision, unquote. That's from Reiser as well. Continuing with the article, finishing up with the article actually. And there's a lot more, this couple of more paragraphs, but we're just going to read only what we really care about. He went on to add that the county hopes that the Commanders keep their training facility here for years to come and hopes to see the team expand their footprint in the Loudoun as well. And indeed, we've been told the Commanders have invested some $10 million in the Ashburn property getting ready for the upcoming summer camp. We're also told that the land has not been sold, nor is it listed for sale. So again, they have put in too much money into this facility to move from Ashburn and relocate where we're training and where we spend our training camps, any off-season practice, where we just practice in general. It would just be ridiculous to move from there anytime soon after investing $10 million into that alone. Josh Harris and the people that own the Commanders have already set forth a few $1 million to upgrade our current stadium as well. It's not called FedEx Field anymore. I believe it's Commanders Field now or something like that. So there's money being put into that because we know we're not moving there anytime soon. The plan is to move from there eventually, but not anytime soon. And then again, the $10 million is going towards the Ashburn practice facilities right now to upgrade those for the fans, for the players, everybody. From that, I know we're not moving from there anytime soon as well. But the point is, with these data centers, and for them to even have this land, this 162 acres worth of land redeveloped and basically put in under that category of a data center area, is to basically plan for the future. So maybe they stay in Ashburn for like another few years, but that's not to say that they plan on being there forever, is the point. And then lastly, before we get up out of here, Hogshaven makes a good point. This is basically so that Josh Harris and the Washington Commanders have some valuable land in Ashburn if/when the team moves to new facilities at a new location. So this is just a super just in case, way in the the future type of thing. Not anytime soon. Do not expect them to pick up and relocate their practice facilities from Ashburn to somewhere else anytime soon within the next few years. This is like way down the line type of stuff. But yeah, man, that's the end of this video. Please stiff arm that like button, stiff arm the subscription button, stiff arm the bell next to that subscription button so you get notification each and every time I release informative and opinionated videos just like this one. Be on the lookout for more content. I can't wait. I have so many ideas, but I just wanted to make sure I updated y'all on the training camp stuff because I know a lot of y'all care about that. And I also just wanted to throw in a lot of this other important stuff that may not be as interesting, and we're going to get right back to the really fun football videos where we're talking football again soon, maybe even as soon as tonight. So just be on the lookout for more content. Again, my schedule has cleared up a lot for like the next few weeks, so I can't wait to really dive back into everything that we need to talk about with the Commanders. I'm about to start doing like roster projection things, like defensive schemes and personnel groupings. If we're on defense and it's 3rd and 1, what group will we go out there with? If it's 3rd and 15, what group will we go out there with? And things like that. I'm gonna start doing projections like those, so I can't wait to start to dive into a lot of those things. Also, I have a lot of Jaden Daniels quotes. A lot of people talking about how excited they are about Jaden Daniels. Austin Eckler compared him to some quarterbacks that he's played with. We're gonna super dive into videos like that. I can't wait. And so make sure y'all stay tuned for all of that. Do not leave this video without leaving a like, and of course let me know in the comment section how you feel about everything discussed in this video. I'm gonna catch y'all later. Appreciate y'all. I'm out.